I think it's there, it's working, even though it keeps saying that this endpoint is deprecated, but it seems to be working. So we'll discuss we'll discuss two things that are very fascinating. We'll discuss the scriptural description of the origin of the universe, and we'll discuss the service of Lord Brahma. And both of them are interesting because there's a lot of fascination between the scientists and the astronomers and the astrophysicists and even the common people. That how did the universe come into existence? And we'll see what the scripture, specifically what the Srimad Bhagavatam says. And in that, we'll also get a sense of Lord Brahma's service, how he executes his service, the challenges that he faces, and what does he do about those challenges. So the origin of the universe is it's described in different prominent scriptures. Gaudiya Vaishnavas generally rely on the Bhagavatam. There is not a lot of difference actually in the different scriptures. Gaudiya Vaishnavas generally rely on the Bhagavatam. There's also description of it in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, so Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and they're fairly, other than minor details, they're fairly consistent. That the creation has basically two phases. The first is Sarga, which we won't talk today, and Sarga is basically Krishna providing the materials for the creation. The second is Visarga, which is Brahma taking these materials and doing the creation. So Brahma is often considered to be like the engineer. So the work of the engineer is that the material is there, the blueprint is there, and then they actually build based on the specific design. So somebody supplies the material, somebody supplies the architecture drawings, and the engineer is qualified enough to know what needs to do. So Krishna provides all the material, Krishna provides the blueprint, the design, and Brahma is the engineer, the secondary creator. In the Bhagavatam, it is said that when Lord Brahma first appeared, like all of us, he was born in ignorance. And his problem was a little bit more severe because he was all alone. So at least when we were born, we had our parents around us, we had somebody to take care of us. But when he appeared, the universe was empty at the time. He was the only living entity in the universe. And to make matters worse, he did not really know what to do. So because of prior impressions, he had this urge. He had this because of some scars, like we are all born with some scars. Because of some scars, he had this urge to create. But what to create, how to create, where he is, he has no idea. So he's born on the top of this lotus flower, and he's looking all around. That is there anybody there to help me? Is there anybody there to guide me? So he said that's how Brahma got four heads, because in all four directions, he was looking for some guidance, some help, and nothing happened. Then he saw that he was sitting on a lotus flower. So then he started exploring the lotus flower, and the lotus flower was on a stem. So he went down into the hollow of the stem, traveled for a very, very long time, and could not reach the end of it. And then he came back again. He sat back again. So the first obstacle that Brahma faces is disappointment. That he has the latent desire to do something because of the purva samskar, but he's not able to do it. He does not even know what he has to do, but he just has the desire to do something. But no help, no guidance, no way to fructify. So what does he do with this? So after trying for a long time, here and there, exploring the flower, exploring the stem, looking in all the directions, then he decides to sit on the lotus flower and patiently wait for some instructions. So, forbearance, the first quality. So when there is disappointment, forbearance. So he did not jump off the lotus flower and say that, okay, this is too much now. I'm going to another universe, or did not become excessively. So he was disappointed, but did not become excessively morose. Did not take to intoxication or drugs, but sitting over there with forbearance, he said that I've come over here. I'm sure there is a purpose, and it will be revealed to me. So he sat over there, and sure enough, in due course of time, he heard two syllables actually being echoed. The first was ta, and the second was pa. So combining the two, he understood that the instruction for me is tap, or perform austerities. So combined with the forbearance was submission. So understanding that now he did not even see the person who was giving that instruction. All he heard was the word tapa. But circumstantially understanding that this is for his benefit, he submitted to that instruction and performed austerities for a very, very long time. According to some, it is 1,000 celestial years. According to some, it is 100 celestial years. But for a very, very long time, he performed austerities. And what was the result of that austerities? That now he could see Lord Vishnu in his heart. And not only could he see Lord Vishnu in his heart, he could actually see Lord Vishnu at the base of the lotus flower. Same Lord Vishnu that he was seeing in his heart, he could see at the base of the lotus flower. So the lotus flower, it originates from Lord Vishnu, from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And the stem of the lotus flower is essentially the whole universe. All the 14 planetary systems are contained within the stem of this lotus flower. The topmost planetary system is Brahmalok, where Brahma was sitting, and the stem essentially contains from Brahmalok to Tapalok, Janalok, Maharlok, then the heavenly planets, earth planets, then the 7 Lord planets, all the way down to Patal. So he could see all the way to the root of the stem. So if you remember, he was earlier trying to find it on his own through material endeavor. That he actually physically has started climbing down the stem of the lotus flower and traveled for a very, very long time, but failed. He was physically trying to see if there is somebody around here to help me, but failed. But by submitting to the instructions, he achieved both. He was able to see what is there at the base of the lotus flower, and he was able to see the source of the instructions, both of which being Lord Vishnu. So not only did he see Lord Vishnu, but he had a conversation with him also. And Lord Vishnu gave him very many nice benedictions. Lord Brahma prayed to Lord Vishnu, asked Lord Vishnu, said, you can ask for any benedictions. And Brahma first, in forms of benediction, the first he asks is, tell me all about yourself. And Lord Vishnu then he recites the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the 4 verses that are considered to be the essence of the Bhagavatam to Brahma. And then Lord Vishnu says, ask something else. And then Brahma says that may I never be overcome by pride. Because he realizes, and by this time he has been infused with the knowledge by the benedictions of Lord Vishnu, he realizes that he's going to be creating the whole universe. And he realizes that it's something that can overpower the ego of a person. That I have created this universe. We create something small and we become proud of it. Like I created this sabji today, turned out really well. Or I built this house, beautiful house. Or I built this kingdom. Kings would say that I built this kingdom, and they become so proud, and they build statues of themselves and put it all over the place. So Brahma was scared of that, saying that I will build this universe that will be filled with uncounted living entities, so many planets. Please bless me that I do not become proud. So even before we start in our devotional life, this is something that we should meditate on, that we are protected from pride. Because what happens is that when we take to bhakti, then bhakti is special. It gives you a lot of satisfaction in the heart. It has a lot of sweetness. But what happens also is that in some cases, or maybe in a lot of cases, then people start becoming proud of it. They look at other persons and they say, oh, this person caught in the cycle of birth and death, does not understand the importance of bhakti. Poor fellow part may be okay, but saying that, I am so much better than the other person. I am said I am Krishna's favorite, and I am connected to Krishna through his parampara. So it's basically the material aspect of bhakti. And one thing that Krishna absolutely does not like in his devotees is any form of pride. And we see that Krishna doing over and over again, even in his most intimate devotees. In the 10th canto, when you read the rasa dance, there is nobody more dear to Krishna than the gopis. Amongst the gopis, there is nobody more dear to Krishna than Srimati Radharani. And in the rasa dance, when Krishna meets with Srimati Radharani in a solitary place, leaving all the other gopis, then for a moment, Srimati Radharani, she begins to think, I'm so fortunate that the Lord of the universe has left everyone to come and personally associate with me. And just as that thought appears, Krishna disappears. And of course, Srimati Radharani can never have any contaminations. This is all done to instruct us. But the instruction is there that even in somebody as pure as advanced. Srimati Radharani is non-different from Krishna. Krishna does not tolerate the trace of pride. And Brahma was aware of this. So right away he begs. And that's something that we should do to protect our bhakti, that we should always keep begging that pride does not come and take root in our heart. We should never think that because we have taken to this path of devotional service, we are so great, we are so pure, we are so spiritually advanced, and we know all this, etc. The more we'll think, the more bhakti will become external. We may still be doing the external, but it will not take root in our heart. And the more we will lose taste for it. Then chanting will become a chore. Deity worship will become a chore. So sometimes we experience that ourselves, that all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but over time we'll see that we are starting to lose taste. Maybe chanting is becoming more mechanical. And one of the questions that our mind should immediately go to it is that consciously or unconsciously, is there pride coming in our heart? And if it is, then the opposite of pride is humility. So where pride is coming, then we counteract pride with humility. The manifestation of humility is service. So we may not be able to flip a switch in our inside us, say that today instead of being proud, I'm humble. But we know that there is a thread attached to that switch, and we know how to pull that thread. And that thread is service. That as we increase our service mode, service to the devotees, service to the deities, service to the service in the temple. So one way, there are so many opportunities to serve. One way or the other, as we take to more and more service, then that switch gets pulled down and moves from pride to humility. So now Brahma, with all these benedictions and empowerment that he has gotten from Lord Vishnu, now he begins to create. Now, what is the first thing that Brahma creates? So look at it from Brahma's perspective. You're Brahma, and you have to create this material universe. So the universe with the 14 planetary systems is there. He has created that. So that for him is not a very significant task. So in most of the scriptures, there is maybe one or two verses that is used to describe it. That Brahma divided the universe into 3, upper, middle, and lower, and then he divided it into 14. One verse or 2 verses. That's done. So this whole physical manifestation that is so fascinating to us, the stars, the moon, the planets, Brahma does that. Yeah. In one verse, he does that. That's done. The big thing for him is to populate the universe. So he has built the house. For him, building the house is not a problem. Now he needs to populate the universe. What does it mean? That the jivas now need to start occupying the different planetary systems. So what would be the first thing that Brahma would have to create?
His progeny as four Kumaras.
You're close. That's the second. So let's take a step back. That the nature of the jiva is to be with Krishna, right? So, so in Chetan Chaitamrita it is said, Jivere Sarupoy Krishna Nityadas. That's the nature of the that it is an eternal servant of Krishna. Now, when this jiva comes down to the material world, then the nature is that everybody is my servant. Different nature. So the first thing that he has to do is to adjust for the change in the nature of the jiva. In order to adjust for it, the first creation in the material world by Brahma is avidya. Ignorance. So that ignorance by which the jiva considers himself to be the controller and the enjoyer. Actually, it's five kinds of ignorances, but we won't go into that level of details. But he creates avidya. So after doing this as a service, Brahma, now he comes to the second obstacle, which is again internal. All these obstacles are within Brahma, which is dissatisfaction. Right. So the first was that he was disappointed that he had no guidance. Now it is that he is dissatisfied. Why is he dissatisfied? Because he has to do this thankless task of turning the jivas away from Krishna. Unless the jiva comes under the influence of this avidya, it cannot enjoy in the material world. And that is the task that Brahma does. He creates that avidya. So why he does it? Because it is needed. But as a devotee, it's distasteful to him. So he feels a strong sense of dissatisfaction. Satisfaction would be, I'm taking a jiva back to Krishna. Dissatisfaction is, I'm taking a jiva away from Krishna. So how does he address this obstacle? So he addresses this by, as Rajneesh Prabhu pointed out, by creating the Four Kumaras. So the Four Kumars are embodiments of Vidya. Each of them represent a particular anga of Vidya. So in order to counter that, he creates the Four Kumars. How does it relate to us? That because of the nature of where we are, because of family, because of job, we have to do things that may not be to our satisfaction. Like some people have to travel. When they travel, then they have to eat out. They have to, we had a friend of ours who was in sales and marketing. Part of his job was that he had to wine and dine his clients. And even though he himself stayed at least on a vegetarian diet, but he said, I would take my clients out and they would basically order what is typical in America. They would order steak and they would order wine and whiskey, and naturally I was paying for it, even though it was company money, but I was encouraging them, take more, because that's how I get more business. So that may be an extreme case. Not all of us have that problem, but all of us have that problem in some extent or other. That just going to work is a different environment. Sometimes family is a different environment, friends are a different environment. Not all of it is fully conducive, but we have to do it. We have to be part of family. We have to do our job. We have to maintain friendly relationships. It results in dissatisfaction. And then how do we counteract that dissatisfaction? By doing something that is conducive to our devotional life. So Brahma countered the dissatisfaction of creating nations by creating knowledge. We counteract the dissatisfaction of material activities by doing spiritual activities. So if you have to go and associate 5 days a week with people at work, then we can be associated with devotees. If you have to wine and dine people as part of a job, then you serve prasadam. In our work, if we have to speak all the time so many things to justify our position, then we do Krishna Katha. So that way we are able to build this balance in our life. Now following the story of the pastime of Lord Brahma. So what happens after he creates the four Kumars? He's very happy. He's very happy, and he says that now you should go forth and have many children like yourself, and that way the universe will be populated. That's his service. But now he has to create the environment for the universe to be populated. What do the four Kumars do? Does anybody know? What do the four Kumars do when
They say no to creation of the progeny. They disobey the instruction of their father, Brahmaji.
Right. So that's the third obstacle, disobedience. That they were his children, and he was not only their father, but also had the position of their guru. And he gave them a direct instruction that go forth and have a lot of progeny. And they said no. They said, we want to stay celibate. We don't want to get into married life, children. We want to dedicate our life to spiritual endeavors. So disobedience is when things around us are not going our way. We expect people to act in a certain way, whether it is friends or family or colleagues, and they don't. Or sometimes they act in a contrary way. You expect them to act in a certain way, they act in exactly the opposite way. And what is the result of that? When Brahma faced with this disobedience of his children, he became very angry. And that anger manifested as Rudra. So the anger manifested from his forehead and appeared as Rudra. When Rudra appeared, then because of the source of his appearance, he was angry and he was crying. Well, 11 Rudras appeared. They're angry and they were crying. And then Brahma appeased them, saying that calm down. So when the personalities appeared, they said, give us a name and give us a place. And Brahma said, calm down, don't cry. Because you cried this way, your name is Rudra. Rudra means to cry. In Rajasthan, there are women who are known as Rudalis, who are professional criers. So if you have, I'm not sure if it is still there, but at some point it used to be there. That if you had if you had an unfortunate event in your family, then you would engage the Rudalis, and they would be expert in crying, just to show how much that person who had passed away was loved, or whatever the other event was. The root word is Rudra, uh, to do Rudan, to cry. Now, Brahma can do that. Very difficult for us to do that, to produce offsprings from our forehead, to address our anger. But what is important is that Brahma, he instructed the Rudras, because when the Rudras appeared, because of their source, they were destructive. Nature of anger is destruction, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that when anger comes, then destruction comes. That's the nature of anger. It's nature of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is of the 11 Rudras. Am I still there? Okay. Suddenly got some screen there. So Lord Brahma says that there's no need for you to bring forth your destruction. You hold it in you by the power of your penances and austerity. When the time is right, then you unleash it. And unlike the four Kumaras, the 11 Rudras, they were obedient to Brahma. And they said, maybe it's so, and they went to perform austerities. So, like I said, we cannot create the 11 Rudras, but what we can definitely do is that when we are faced with disobedience, then the negativity that we have in us, we can use it in a constructive way. Prabhupada gives the example of Arjun, that he used his anger in the service of Krishna. In Mahabharata, Arjun killed millions of people there. He's still regarded as a topmost devotee, because he was using all his fierceness, his anger, the ghastliness. Can you imagine in 18 days killing millions of people? It's like genocide. Every day he committed a genocide. And it would be difficult for a person to kill one person and sleep at night. He was literally killing hundreds and thousands of persons every day. But the reason that he was able to live with it, flourish with it, is glorified for it, is that he was doing it as a service to the Lord. So disobedience in our life is inevitable. Very rarely will things go as we expect. And the resultant frustration and anger is also inevitable. If Brahma has it, we will also have it. But succumbing to it is not inevitable. We can use that in the service of Krishna. If you have frustrations because our work is not according to our level of expectations, we can increase our service at the temple, and there we will get rewarded. If you are frustrated with relatives, that maybe they are exploiting me, maybe they don't understand me, we can develop loving relationship with devotees, and that will be satisfying. So after the creation of after the appearance of the Rudras, Brahma goes about his service of creating. In that creation, he creates a very, very attractive and beautiful woman, his daughter, by the name of Vak. Vak was so beautiful that even Brahma got attracted to her. And he became so attracted to her that he started following her with a desire to have conjugal relationships with her. And Vak, considering Brahma to be her father, was obviously horrified by that idea. So she was running all over the universe. Brahma was following her, and some of the other personalities that had been created, basically the sons of Brahma, they were shocked that how is it possible that a personality of the stature of Brahma, who is the guru of the gurus, who is the original Prajapati, is behaving in this way. Not only is he lusting after a woman, but that woman is his daughter. How much worse can it be? So this is the next obstacle that Brahma faces, which is distraction. So the service that Brahma was doing with a single-minded attention, he gave up that service, distracted in a horrible way. Now the acharyas say that this pastime, it happens very, very rarely in some universes with some Brahmas. So it's not that every Brahma has them. It's a very rare occurrence. So Maitreya says, I have heard about it, which means not in our universe, in some other universe, some other Brahma, some other point of time it happened. But he still shares that. And the lesson for us is, if Brahma can become infatuated in this way, who are we? That prior to this, he has personally met the Lord. It is said that when Lord Vishnu appears, he shakes hands with Brahma, and he gives him a tour of Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. So you can't get any more exalted than that. So if he can become attacked by these distractions, who are we? So the lesson is that we should always be careful. Now what does Brahma do when he is in this situation? He is approached. He's approached by his sons, his well-wishers, and they say, you have to seize this. This is not good. But Brahma, it's like difficult to go to a person who's possessed by a ghost and say that now you have to expel that ghost from your body, because the ghost has already taken over the body. So Brahma is not listening to them. They're saying, don't do this. This is not right. For a person of your stature, it's not good. And for anybody, this is not good. But he's unable to take that instructions. So what do they do then? These personalities, they begin to pray to Krishna. They please help our Brahma. When they pray to Krishna, then Krishna helps. Krishna from within gives Brahma this discrimination. And Brahma is so ashamed. So the lesson for us is, surround ourselves with well-wishers. Because on our own, sooner or later, we will fall to something. Maybe not this, but something else. Maybe we become too absorbed in different material pursuits. I want to make more money, or person becomes completely averse to devotional service, become averse to hunting for whatever reason. But if we are surrounded with devotees, they will pray for us. And the power of prayers is very, very, very strong. In fact, when we pray to the Lord will listen to us. When other devotees pray to the Lord for us, Lord will act upon it. Because firstly, if you're a devotee, Krishna is affectionate to you. So he will listen to you. Now, when others are praying to you, then somebody that Krishna is affectionate to is being recommended by somebody else that Krishna is also affectionate. So it's like there are two brothers and the father is affectionate to both of them, and one brother is doing nonsense activities, and the other brother comes and says that please help him. So not only does the father have affection for the son who is doing nonsense activities, he also has affection for the son who is coming and pleading on his behalf. So Krishna acts even more promptly. So knowing that sooner or later, and generally it is sooner than later, we will get afflicted, we should surround ourselves with devotees who are our ultimate well-wishers. They will counsel us, they will speak things for our benefit, and they will intercede on our behalf with the personality of Godhead or the Guru or Mahaprabhu. The Acharyas also say that Vak, and this is a little bit of symbolism, that the Sanskrit word Vak means to speak. So one of our causes of downfall is Vak. That Prabhupada says that a fool is only revealed when he speaks. Till the time he's quiet, everybody thinks he's a wise person. When he starts speaking, then they say, this person is a fool. So speaking is something that can lead to a downfall, and speaking is something that can liberate us also. If we speak Krishna Katha, if we chant, it can lead to our liberation. So this disturbance was the next obstacle and the distraction. So Brahma overcame that because of the mercy of the Lord coming from the prayers of the devotees, and then he gives up that mentality and he gets back to his service with full enthusiasm. But he sees that the universe is still empty. He has created some Manasputras, the Saptarishis, created the Four Kumaras, the Rudras. But other than these minor creations, from a population perspective, the universe is almost entirely empty. So the next obstacle of Brahma is that he now sees a deficiency in his service. The deficiency is that he is not being able to do what he is expected to do. Brahma, he handles this state of his mind by taking even more shelter of Krishna. So he says that on my own, it is difficult for me to do it. But my dear Lord, you please help me. So in our own lives, we often see this deficiency. We would like to chant good rounds every day. Some days we do, some days we don't. We would like to engage with the scriptures in a very thoughtful way. But as soon as we start reading the scriptures, we fall asleep. Or we would like to do service, but then we become lazy. We would like to get up early in the morning. But then we say that Krishna understands if I sleep a little bit longer. And then we feel guilty about it. I would like to do this. I would like to do that. I would like to serve the devotees more. I would like to serve the deities more. And we're constantly saying, I'm deficient in this, I'm deficient in this, I'm deficient in this. And then we do what Brahma does, that we take shelter of Krishna. And Prabhupada says that when the word Krishna is used, you should substitute it with Krishna and his devotees. So we take shelter of Krishna, we take shelter of other devotees, we take shelter of Guru Maharaj. So in taking that shelter, two things happen. One is that we are accepting with humility that we are not the doer. We are accepting the fact that it is not me by the strength of my limbs and by the force of my intellect that I'm accomplishing all these things. In fact, what we think is that whatever little I have accomplished, even on my own, I could not have done that much also. So surprised at how much have I really accomplished this? I'm actually able to chant every day. That itself is an accomplishment. Am I able to read the scriptures a little bit? Even that is an accomplishment. So we develop this sense of humility. The second thing that happens is that we open ourselves to descending mercy. So the nature of descending mercy is that it is there, but we have to tap into it. It's like there is water that is coming down on a tap, but you still have to open that knob thing on the tap to get the water out. Otherwise, the water is there. The tap has the potential to give you as much water as you want, but it won't unless you unscrew the knob over there. So the mercy is there, but you have to ask for it. Sometimes people say that if Krishna is so merciful, why doesn't he just give me this? Why doesn't he give me the strength to chant his name? This is an actual conversation actually I had with a devotee and who had trouble chanting. And at one point he said that if Krishna is so merciful, then why doesn't he just make it happen that I chant? So yes, Krishna is merciful. Yes, Krishna is powerful, but you have to ask for it. Otherwise, you're basically in the situation of false pride, saying that why should I ask? I'm not a beggar. I'm actually the giver in charity. I give to people. I don't ask. I don't beg. As long as we have that mentality, the tap will be closed. So Brahma, with lot of humility, he was praying to Krishna that all these deficiencies in my service, I'm not able to handle it. And then he addresses that deficiency with devotion, taking shelter of Krishna, taking shelter of other devotees. And as a result of that, Brahma moves to the next phase of creation, in which he creates Manu. So when Swayambhavu Manu and Shatrupa are created, then the creation of the universe commences. So they basically create and Prajapatis, and they marry, they have children, and then there's the whole process of what is called continuous creation, Nitya Visarga, that happens over there, which is still going on. So we are also in our way creators, right? We are creating bodies for other living entities to come in, continuing in the line of Manu. So for the sake of conciseness, I have obviously condensed, and in condensing this, I have to go over or skip over a lot of details. But the purpose of the discussion was for us to take these lessons from the life of Brahma, that even a personality as exalted and as great as he is had to face obstacles at every stage. One would think that he had got benedictions from Krishna, that now you can create. Everything should have been okay for him. But no, that was just the beginning of his problem. He got the benedictions from Krishna, and his first four sons, they basically say, sorry, Dad, we don't want to do what you're saying. And then one after another, there are obstacles. But essentially, the benediction that he got from Krishna was that may you be able to overcome all the obstacles. That's the highest benediction that you can get. Obstacles will always be there. So saying that please benedict me that I can do, no obstacles will come my way, is not practical. And even if you get that benediction, it's very limited. That maybe you say that I'm embarking on this journey. Please benedict us that there are no obstacles on this journey. Krishna says, okay. But what about the next journey that you take? What about the next endeavor that you undertake? So best for us is to ask from Krishna that may you give us the strength to overcome the obstacles, overcome them in a way that we continue to increase our service towards you, and it also increases our devotion for you. So we are able to execute that service and at the same time nourish our bhakti. So this is the pastime of Brahma, his journey through different obstacles and the lessons that we can learn out of it. So I'll stop over here and see if we have any comments or any discussion.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Thank you, Prabhuji, for actually giving a very nice, information about Lord Brahma. So, Prabhuji, I mean, what you mentioned about like how Lord Brahma had gone through, all the obstacles, and knowing all the Vedas directly from Krishna. Initially Krishna recited him everything, and Brahma being such a high spiritual, having that knowledge. And still one after other you mentioned about the creation of Rudra, the sun, and all the destruction, and then his because of the ignorance and passion or lust, what you call it, attraction towards, and then it still kept on going. So I'm trying to understand, like, it little bewilds mind, that and you're right, and you mentioned about it that having the right association. I think that one of the thing helped him Brahma to to follow with Krishna, but still question comes like, how did Brahma keep continuing, the creation and having Krishna on his side? How did he face so much? I mean, still having that obstacles. That's number one question. And the second thing is, you know, why did it was Brahma the only one where Krishna gave him the in charge for for the creation of a universe, like the spiritual souls. And you mentioned something about there were many Brahmas in different planets. So I was not able to understand. Um, uh, my understanding was there was only one Brahma, but you mentioned something where different Brahmas, so that could be not, could have happened in different planets. So could you elaborate a little bit on that as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. All very nice questions. I'll take the last one first, but it's more of a detailed question. So in the Bhagavatam, it is explained that this material creation, it is comprised of unlimited number of universes. And in each universe, there is a Brahma. So we have a four-headed Brahma in our universe. There is another Brahma that may have 10 heads. So Prabhupada in the purport says that depending on the size and complexity of the universe, and the Brahmas are correspondingly, they have more heads, they are more powerful beings. In the Bhagavatam, there is a pastime that once Lord Brahma went to Dwarka to meet Krishna, and he was stopped at the gate, and the gatekeeper says that who should I say has come to meet? And Brahma says, tell him that Brahma has come. So the gatekeeper goes in, comes back, and then he says, Krishna is asking, which Brahma? So Brahma says, what do you mean, which Brahma? I'm the only Brahma over here. There's no other Brahma. So the gatekeeper says, anyway, you can come in. So then he comes into the hall of Krishna, and there he sees the hall is full of Brahmas. And there are some Brahmas who have 10 million heads. And all of them, they are giving obeisances to Krishna, singing his glories. So that's the understanding that we are just we are one planet amongst the millions in this universe. And this universe is one amongst the millions, which comprises of this material creation. And the material creation is Ekapad. 3/4 of Krishna's creation is the spiritual world, and 1/4 of the creation is the material world. So the other question that you had asked was that Brahma had received all these benedictions, and then he still had obstacles in his service, and in itself that is exemplary, because the obstacles, each of the obstacle you see that Brahma walked away from it a better person. So it's not that Krishna deliberately puts obstacles in our ways, but he also does not take them away. There's that saying, right, in English, that that which does not break you will make you. Right? So each obstacle that Brahma faced, it made him a better Brahma. More control, more humility, more persistence. And ultimately, that's what was the quality that endeared him to Krishna, his determination and devotion. That in face of all of this, he never once gave up. He said, I have this service to do for my Lord, and I will do it. And he went through a lot, whether because of his own mind, because of others, for all possible combination, he had obstacles there. But he continued to have full faith in the Lord with determination. So even for devotees, it is said that you say that when you take to bhakti, then everything becomes auspiciousness. then everything becomes auspicious. But devotees also suffer. Why? So the auspiciousness is not in the removal of the obstacles. The auspiciousness is in how you handle the obstacles. That's where the auspicious is. That the same situation, Rampal Maharaj gives this example, that two people in exactly the same situation, one person becomes mental. Why did this happen to me? How could this happen to me? This is so unfair. And the other person, he uses that situation to strengthen. Right? His favorite example is a little bit more humorous. Like he says, two people stuck in traffic. And one person, he's beating on the steering wheel, he's cursing everybody, he's beating his head. And the other person, same traffic jam, same stuck, and he's chanting Hare Krishna, he's listening to a lecture. So not that the situations that are adverse will go away, but the adversity will go away. That's the big benediction that Krishna gives. Is that okay, Prabhu? That helps?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you for the nice questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, thank you so much. Very wonderfully correlated Lord Brahma's pastime with so practical issues, real issues. Most of the issues were like that I face. So I had a question, Prabhuji, when Indulekha Mataji messaged in the morning to think, and my thought came to, is there any correlation between spiritual engagement and spiritual depth? So just to elaborate a little, by devotees' mercy, I've gotten to chant. We've got deities. There's reading going on of scriptures. But there are times when it comes to spiritual depth that I have this intense craving to eat something, for example. That reminds me of an item that I used to eat back home. Or there's this new critically acclaimed series on Amazon or Netflix that all of my friends are talking about, that I feel like watching it. Or even subtle things like, at work. It doesn't happen all the time, but there are some instances when someone says some things that can really, it stays in my mind. So at that, those are the times when I feel that I'm really a fake devotee. So is there any correlation between the spiritual depth and the engagements that we are doing? And secondly, is there a way, what is the right amount of spiritual engagement that one needs?
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful practical question. Srila Prabhupada would give an example in this context. And I think I've shared this in the past, so I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Prabhupada says that you start with a glass that is full of ink and you want it to be full of milk. So one way is that you empty the glass and you fill it with milk. The other way is that while the glass is full with ink, you add milk to it. Then the first time you add milk to it, the glass is basically ink with a spot of milk in it. And then you add a little bit more milk, then it becomes ink and milk, then it becomes milk and ink, and then it becomes milk. That's the path that we follow. So we don't, and Prabhupada himself says that you can't follow the path of emptying the glass and filling it with milk. That's an impersonal path. First saying neti, neti, neti. Everything is no, 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 no. I have no attraction for family. I have no attraction for this, no attraction for this. So I'm completely cut off from everybody. Now I will take to bhakti. But the problem is that you spend so much time cutting yourself out from everything that your heart becomes stoic. It loses the softness that's needed for bhakti. And even that act of cutting yourself from everything is very difficult to do. So what we do is that we do whatever we do, and we increase the component of bhakti. So we are all in that stage. We are stage where we are ink and milk. So we have spiritual endeavors, and we have a past material conditioning. So the past material conditioning may be driving us to eat food that is not offered or offerable, to engage in activities that we know is not conducive to our spiritual life. But the activities that we are doing, they are the ones that are filling the glass with ink, with milk. So if you look at your life 2 years ago and now, then you will see that more time in your life is being devoted to spiritual activities. So maybe 2 years ago you were chanting 1 round, now you're chanting 16 rounds. You did not have deities, now you're worshipping deities every day. You were reading scriptures once a week, now you do every day. So definitely the amount of milk in the glass has increased. There's still ink there. But given the fact that the trajectory is positive, so patience. So we have to stay true to the process. As we stay true to the process, the process itself will carry you. The related question you asked is also important, that with this understanding, we should not become complacent. We should not say, well, I know there's ink and milk, and let me just go ahead and do whatever I was doing and let the process take care of it. But part of the process is becoming aware of these things. You may not be able to change it, but just being aware of it. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that just being regretful about it. But maybe you're not able to. You still go ahead and do. You're able to do that, but you feel regret for it. Mm-hmm. That is the regret is the force that will force us to take more shelter of Krishna consciousness. And while we are on this path, the path of Krishna consciousness is that we look to the sky and we keep our feet on the ground. So we act according to our adhikar. So we keep our foot on the ground. We know that we have a certain level of purification and a certain level of contamination. Mm-hmm. We desire that our contamination reduces and our purification increases. But while that is happening, we stay true to our adhikar. It's like, we are. A friend of mine was training to run in the marathon, and before he ran in the marathon I think is 26 kilometers or something like that, or 26 miles maybe. But before that, for almost 2 years, he started off with a 5 mile, and then 10 mile, and then 12 mile, and after 2 years, he ran the marathon. So that's what we are doing. That if right on the first day he went to the marathon, he would have dropped out. Right. So we stay true to our adhikar. We keep our aspirations positive, and most importantly, we stay true to the process.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just had a question, like when you say, like, Brahma ji created first the ignorance, avidya. So how do we connect, like, either my desire to enjoy separately from Krishna was the first cause, or the cause is that Brahmaji created ignorance, because of that I thought that I want to enjoy different from Krishna.
Correct. I think your statement is correct that because we had a desire to enjoy separately from Krishna, it is facilitated by the ignorance that was created by Brahma.
Brahmaji, yeah.
Right? It's
Otherwise,
like
Brahmaji,
yeah, he's not an enemy. So it's like so actually the avidya it's avidya is actually created by Krishna. So Brahma does not create avidya; he manifests it. The last act in Sarga, the last act that Krishna does in creation of the universe is he creates avidya. The first act that Brahma does is that he manifests that avidya, and as you said, is because of our desires. We want to desire separately from Krishna. The only way we can enjoy separately from Krishna is by taking shelter of this avidya. It's like you go to this amusement park, and then you go to these rides which scare people. So you have to get onto that ride, right? And then the ride will scare you, but you have to get onto that, right? If you don't get onto the ride, it's not going to scare you. So it's not that the ride is scaring you, even though you said this is a scary ride and this is really horrifying. It's not the ride that's scaring you. The fact that you got onto the ride, and then the ride is designed to fulfill that desire, is designed to fulfill that desire of yours to get scared. So the engineer of the ride is not to blame. He's just responding to your desire. So that's what Brahma is doing. Okay. Any
Hare
last?
Krishna,
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for the class, Prabhuji. My question is, the spiritual journey that we all are pursuing is obviously wonderful. We're all taking inspiration from each other. But Prabhuji, it's not always that this journey goes very smooth and goes one way, right? There are always ups and downs. And both the examples that you take, marathon as well as that milk and ink, our constant endeavor is that we are incrementally moving in the right direction, but there will be moments when we take two steps back and one step forward, and there will be ups and downs. And even in Brahmaji's life, that happened, even though he asked first benediction that he should not become pride, but we know that happened in his life in future. So what should we do in those instances when we knowingly commit mistakes?
Thank you, Prabhu. Good question. So when we are knowingly committing mistakes, the understanding is that that which in us is causing us to commit mistake is more powerful than our ability of discrimination. Right? So knowingly means we know. We have that ability of discrimination, that this is right and this is wrong, but we still do it, which means that the discrimination is not strong enough to prevent us from doing it. It's very similar to the situation of Lord Brahma. Like when he was running after his daughter, so he's Brahma, he knows this is sinful. He knows that I should not be doing it. In fact, he becomes extremely ashamed of it also. So what comes to his help at the time? The prayers of other devotees. So knowing that, so it's not that. So the question you very rightly put is, it's not saying that if we do things, it's when we do things, because it's not a question of will we do it or not. We will do it. It is inevitable. And the shelter that we have is that we have the well wishes of other devotees. So that's why, and sometimes we do it, sometimes devotees will do it especially if they're senior devotees, you'll see that they will more feelingly ask you that, please pray for me, Prabhu. And sometimes we do it mechanically also, because it's like Hare Krishna, we say Hare Krishna, we do it mechanically. But even that has, even though you're doing it mechanically, it has potency. But you'll see that in senior devotees. I remember I was quite embarrassed. We had gone to speak with a sannyasi, and very nice, it was more of a one-on-one discussion. And then we said, thank you so much, Maharaj. Please let us know if we can do any service. And Maharaj said, the sannyasi said, please pray for me. And we were like embarrassed, said, how can we pray for you? We are here and you are there. But he has that, he has that mood that whatever deficiencies that I have, they can be overcome by the prayers of devotees. That's the reason where Vaishnava Sangh is so potent. That you slip, but your connection to Krishna does not slip. So we ask for it. We ask for we ask for the devotees to help us. We ask for instructions from them. We confide in them, and we ask for their protection. That that's the biggest help.
Makes sense, Prabhuji. And I think these obstacles and these overturns will definitely come in our life. We are far from perfect. So yes, that boundary would help, and surrounded by devotees definitely would help. And the example that I was referring towards Brahmaji was this, when he steal the cowherd boys, right? That time also he was testing Krishna that time. So it was not easy for him also down the line.
Yeah. It's quite interesting that is not considered to be a fall down of Brahma. That is considered to be his service to Krishna. Because, when people will say, Krishna was just an ordinary cowherd boy, and then you see the Brahma Vimohan Leela, can an ordinary cowherd boy do this? No. So just like where Arjun put himself under illusion to have the Gita spoken, Brahma did that as a service. That journey is not counted as a fall down of Brahma. Even the Brahma himself considers it to be a fall down, but amongst devotees, it's not considered as a fall down. I mean, really speaking, is that he doesn't really fall down. His glory is that even if he appears to fall down, he always gets up. That's his glory. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for that clarity, Prabhu. It helps.
Actually, Rajneesh Prabhu very nicely asked, I was not sure how to ask this also, but he asked very nicely that, knowingly making mistakes. And because when you're sharing classes like these days, what is happening is like, I don't know what to ask also, because what you are giving me is much more than what, I have a lot more to do than to ask. So I was kind of like in the situation, but Rajneesh Prabhu nicely asked that question. And it also gave me that understanding that whatever I got is also not because of me, because in future, if I am able to do something, it is only by prayers of others rather than my own effort. Because at one point we think that I struggled a bit to get this, because every day there is some challenge. And but his question and your answer more helped me. So I thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, Indulekha.
May I ask? You were talking about adhikar, and there was this talk about mention of the prayers, which you were saying. So my question is that how do I know that when I'm praying within my adhikar and not going beyond?
That's a very good question. So adhikar is something that is so vital, and at the same time, it is so personal. So your adhikar may be different from what it was a year ago. Your adhikar may be different from those surrounding you. So that's where the shelter of a guru is very important, because it's the guru who will tell you how to act as per your adhikar, whether it's Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru, but it's the guru that will tell you. The guru has full understanding of your level of realizations, your position, how much ink, how much milk, and there is this famous pastime where two of Prabhupada's disciples were initiated into sannyas ashram at the same time. And they came separately to take instructions from Prabhupada. And to one person, Prabhupada says that you're now a sannyasi, you stay in the temple and worship the deities. That's your service. He said, okay, Jai Prabhupada went up. Second sannyasi came, Prabhupada said, you're now sannyasi, do not stay in one place for more than 3 days. Travel all around the world and preach. Yes, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's servant, who I think was Harisori Prabhu, he asked him that, why are you giving different instructions? They're both sannyasis. And then Prabhupada, the answer was more conversational. He said, this person's nature is this person's nature is there. But essentially what he was saying is that the instructions were customized to the adhikar of the person. That was one person's adhikar. Deity worship, the others was preaching. So the prayers that we do, the services that we do, we do it according to what is sustainable for us, translates to our adhikar, and if we feel that there is a tension over there, then we inquire from the guru. That so tomorrow I have this notion that I will every day morning get up and listen to Ras Leela pastimes. Then I probably would want to check with Guru Maharaj first and say that is it okay for me? And or if I have if I have a desire that let me give up my family and go and preach in Vrindavan and live in Vrindavan, I would check with Guru Maharaj. Is my adhikar conducive to my actions? So that's why the importance of the guru in the life is stressed over and over again, because the philosophical aspect of devotion is there, but from the experiential perspective, how we are progressing from one stage to another, how we are using the various angas to our advantage, that's when we take shelter. That's when we ask for, receive, and act upon instructions. Is that okay?
I guess my specific was with prayers, not so much on acting upon, but I guess, yeah, I think I got a hang of what you said. I think so. Thank you.
Okay, so so at this point we have Narsingdev prayer or we have chanting?
Chanting?
We have chanting. Okay, so if you could all unmute yourself, we can chant one round together. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare